So good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's Q&A session, right? I was going to say welcome to my YouTube channel. You know, sometimes when you do this thing for a long time, you start getting used to it. You know, so welcome to, today's Q&A session. I trust you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. So we were talking about the proof of funding letter. Fatima, have you gotten your proof of funding letter?
No, not yet. I know people have gotten theirs, sure.
Oh, but you've requested for it, right?
Yeah, I did. I think yesterday.
Oh, okay. What school are you going to?
Nottingham.
University of Nottingham.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your start date? Are you resuming this September or January?
This September.
Wow, you guys resuming this September, you have, you have a lot of tasks to do. But I mean, the first thing first is to request for your proof of funding letter, send it to your school. They issue your CAST, and then once you get your award letter, you can immediately apply for your visa straight up once you've gotten your award letter, right? And just follow the process I listed in the video. So very quickly, so that I don't take too much of your time, you can go ahead and ask questions, and whatever. So what you should do is just please signify by raising up your hand. If I call you, you unmute yourself so that we don't have a lot of noise, right? So you can just signify by using the electronic hand button. All right, Fatima.
All right, thanks. You had mentioned that one can immediately request for the visa once you get your award letter.
Sorry, take
but
that.
There's also, you said you had mentioned that one can request for the you can start visa application as soon as you receive your award letter. But there's also this bit of, PTDF having their own agents contracted.
Talk about that. Yeah.
How do you bypass all of those and then
actually it is better not to bypass it, right? And the simple reason is because if you go through them, it makes it easier. Let's say you want to pay your visa fee yourself, it makes it easier for you to get your money back, because you're going through the approved channel. And that's what I would actually recommend. I'm not sure they're going to charge you any fee for going through them, right? I'm not sure they're going to charge you for any fee. So just go through them so that when you are requesting for a refund, you have someone that they recognize to, back your claims up and all that, right? So I encourage you. I don't think there's any issue, right? The only thing is just that you're going via an agent, right? The timing of your visa processing is still going to be this. I encourage you to, go through them. That was another thing I didn't, talk about, in that video. So I hope that's clear.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
So please just go through. It's just advisable, right, to go through them so that you don't, and to even save you, time and any delay. Just go through that. All right, good evening, everyone. I can see most of you are just joining. Please, the basic rules: try and unmute yourself as you're joining, right? So that we don't have any back and forth, right? Jamilu, I hope I'm correct. Apologies for my pronunciation. Please go ahead.
Yes, you are very right, Musakin. Thank you very much, Tospa, for the guidance. I actually have been watching all your videos posted on the YouTube, and they have actually assisted me a lot. What I want to find out, yes, sir. What I want to find out is that with respect to deferment, because I'm almost about 80% making my mind to defer, because my country is France, actually, it's not UK. So, and most of the courses, most of the schools are resuming in September.
Yeah.
So looking at this circumstance, I don't know. I'm looking at, should I still go ahead to accept the scholarship, fill in all other documents needed for me at my disposal for now? For example, like maybe the bond form, getting the surety that will guarantee me and all of that. I don't know, should I go ahead to do that, or I should just hold on since I am forwarding my deferment letter for now?
So from what you've just said, my understanding is that you intend resuming September next year, right? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, Musaki, you are very right.
Okay, so
that's what I mean, actually. Yes.
I would encourage you to start the process now. And the reason is because, once you've uploaded your signed bond form and all of that, you requested for, or maybe you should even take a chill pill, right? And the reason is because your proof of funding letter would probably have, for some of you that have gotten the proof of funding letter, it would have a specific date, which I believe is from August, this year to August next year. So I would encourage you to just, hold them. There's really no need for a rush, and that's because of the date that will carry. That will be in your proof of funding letter. So just hold on, right? I think you should be able to request for a deferral straight up now, right? Or your PTDF portal.
Oh, okay.
You should be able to request for it. But it's just that they wouldn't respond like almost immediately.
All right. Okay. Yes, sir.
A deferral. Yep. So someone raised up his hand. So Fatima asked, how many after award letter requests will one get it? I'm not sure I understand that question. Hello, Fatima. Okay, I guess she's still on the call. Fatima, can you hear me? How many days? Someone just said now that, he requested on Sunday, and then, he got the proof of funding letter, today. In terms of the award letter, during our own time, it took about 2 weeks, right? So if you're talking about award letter, right, award letter took about 2 weeks, but of course, understand that it's possible for it to be lesser, in your case, but it took about 2 weeks, before the award letter came out. I hope that answers your question. All right, so if you have any question, just signify by raising up your hand. I would call you. Or you can, signify by raising up your hand. Okay, Ismail.
Okay, good afternoon. My question is, I'm intending to resume on January, but I've already gotten admission for September. Okay. And I've applied for proof of funding. So I don't know how it's going to be. Like, am I going to start deferring the admission first, or I have to get the proof of funding sent to the school, then defer it? I don't really know how to go about it.
So let me understand your question. You intend resuming in January, right?
Yes.
So you don't need to, the proof of funding letter you're going to get is still very valid, even though you're going to resume, January. But then what you would do is that you would send an email to your school, requesting a change of course start date, and all of that. Excuse me, right? And they would update that. I don't think that should be an issue. It's actually even better now because you can start the whole process now. Do your TB test, let's say by end of September, right?
Okay.
Then October, you apply for your visa. And before the end of October, they will definitely have called you for your visa, biometrics, right? And, I think the best thing is just that if you guys are resuming in January, right? Start the whole process now, regardless, right? The only thing that has a time frame is your TB test certificate. And I remember during my time, I did my own TB test, September 13th, if I can remember correctly. Yeah, September 13th, and I was still able to, get to the UK in January. So send a mail to your, let them update the, can you mute yourself? let them update the your course start date, right? And you get the updated admission letter, right? Once you get the updated admission letter, you upload it to PTDF. You can get your award letter, and then you can continue your process like that.
Okay, but the issue is I got the admission through an agent, not through online. So like if I have to defer the admission, am I going to?
I can't hear you.
I said I got the admission through an agent, not through online.
Okay.
Not through school website. So am I going to contact the agent? Or I can send
please contact the agent. Contact the agents, right? Let them, reach out to your school to send you an updated, offer letter.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. So for Lakemi, is it after receiving award letter that I will be able to go for the TB test? Yes. Once you've gotten your award letter, like I mentioned in the video, give it a few days, automatically your TB test letter would, typically come out after a few days. Once you get that TB test, you can go any day afterwards. And depending on when you intend starting, right? You can go the following day, you can go the following week, whichever one suits you. I plan to resume in September 2022. How feasible is that? To be honest, it depends on PTDF, right? PTDF will determine that feasibility. But then I encourage that, once you've gotten your award letter, you've gotten your TB test, you can apply for your visa straight up. If you have the, you can pay for the visa, through PTDF agents. They would refund you, afterwards, right? So it depends on PTDF, actually. I can't say with respect to the timeline. Like I gave an example of my own time. I was supposed to resume in September, but they didn't call me for, my visa biometrics until maybe second week of October or third week of October, if I'm correct. And, some schools, so Strathclyde, for example, was telling me that the registration deadline was October 4, if I'm correct. And what that means is that if I have not yet applied for my visa before October 4, I would have to defer, right? So those are the factors you get to look at, right? There are some schools that will tell you that, you can resume anytime. You can only start, online classes, from Nigeria. And when you get your visa, you can then come to the UK. So just check with your school, right? If you have the money, I encourage you to pay so that you don't get to delay yourself. But if you don't have the money, you would have to wait for PTDF. Hello, Farida is saying, is it possible to start September 2022? I just got POF. Yes, I believe it's possible. Since you guys have gotten your proof of funding, send it to your school. Let your school, give you your cash. Once they've given you your cash, send it back to, PTDF, upload it on PTDF's portal. Then from there, you get your award letter. Once you've gotten your award letter, you should be able to get your TB test, a week maximum. Then you apply for your visa. So it is still very possible. And since September 26th is your start date, you still have about, a month and 1 week. So let's be hopeful that, PTDF would hasten the whole process up. For Lakemi is saying, what should be the capacity of my luggage? So I can't speak for every airline, so that you don't pay extra luggage. I paid extra luggage during my time. So for me, I flew with KLM, right? And KLM was 223 kg, and your hand luggage and whatever other bags you're carrying should not be more than 10 kg. So 223 kg bags, checked in baggage, and then your other hand luggage and maybe your laptop, backpack should not be more than 10 kg. If not, you will pay. I think I paid during my time 55,000 naira extra luggage. So please try and wait. I encourage you to try and wait. I hope that answers your question. Olakem is already in the UK already. All right. If you have any other question, please just signify by raising up your hand and I will call you, or you can drop it in the chat. All right. Is anybody asking a question? What would you advise for Nigerians to buy from home to avoid buying stuff at very exorbitant amounts? Food, please buy food, right? I can't remember who I was talking to, I think it was a week ago. I bought, one Titus fish. And that Titus fish cost about £5, just one Titus fish, right? And if you convert £5 now, that's over 4,000 naira. So buy food, back in Nigeria. Any other thing else, you can buy it here. Chicken, you don't need to bring chicken. For example, chicken is very cheap. You will see chicken even in the UK for £1, £2 and all that. So there are some things that are very cheap, right? So just buy food stuff. And please be very careful with respect to, you bringing, fish, meat, and all of that, right? I remember when I landed in Glasgow, right? The border agencies literally had to check my bag, because, there's going to be one police dog that will be checking your luggage to see whether you have any contraband or you have any food item, that is prohibited. So I encourage you to check with the UK government's website to know what is prohibited and what is not prohibited. All right, someone said, please repeat the minimum luggage capacity. All right, for KLM, it will be 223 kg checked in baggage. And then your hand luggage and maybe your backpack should not weigh more than 10 kg. Anything above that, you would have to pay. You'd have to pay for extra baggage. Considering the pros and cons, is it advisable to stay on campus or off campus? I think I addressed that in my video. It depends on you, right? If you have the money and you are a very private person, I would encourage you to, stay outside of campus. But again, PTDF factor, Nigerian factor and all that, before they pay you. So you have to factor that in. If you have the money, go ahead, right? Like I said, the difference between private accommodation and school accommodation would not be too much, all right? So it depends on you anyway. If you have the money, go ahead. If you know that you're actually solely relying on PTDF, I would encourage you to stay on campus so that, if they've not paid you, for example, you can just send your award letter or your proof of funding letter to them and, they would allow you to stay. All right, someone said clothes and shoes. Please don't bring too much clothes. Don't bring too much clothes. That was another mistake I made, packed all my suits and all of that. And I brought, very little food. So when I tell you to bring food, I'm speaking from experience, right? So please don't pack too much clothes. Don't pack too much shoes. I can speak for the UK. And if you're coming to the UK, whether you're coming in September, it wouldn't be that cold. But if you're coming in January, it's going to be very, very cold. So please bring, or you wear your Chelsea boots. If you know what Chelsea boots is, you can buy just one winter jacket. Make sure you bring your head warmer, your hand gloves, a very thick socks, and all that. So that's that for clothes and shoes. My name on my passport are 4, and all my papers are 3. Is there issue when processing visa? Maybe you would have to, speak, because I know, for example, if you're talking about, because I know on passport, you would have, your surname and your other names, right? If your surname and, 2 of your other names are exactly the same, you should not have issues with your visa. But let's say, for example, your surname on your document is your first name on your passport, and then your first name on your passport is your surname. You would have to make sure that it is consistent. All right, so that you don't have any issues with respect to your visa. What is the cost of living in Scotland, from accommodation to food to transport to know what a person will hold when coming? It depends on when you're staying in Scotland, right? But I think Scotland is still relatively cheaper than, London. With £500, £600, you should be able to, per month, you should be able to, take care of yourself per month, right? So I told you guys in the video, if you can hold a minimum of £1,000, it would actually help you, right? If it's possible, it depends on how much you have, right? But if you can hold minimum of £1,000, that would be very, very good for you. And you would not have to, start getting agitated as to when PTDF would pay. Will PTDF refund awardees who have already made payment for any of the following? Tuition fee deposit, I believe so. TB test, I doubt. Visa, yes. Flight ticket, yes. I hope that answers your question, David Abidoye. PTDF would refund your tuition fee deposit. And let me just speak with respect to your tuition fee, right? Because I'm not sure I talked about that in my video. So PTDF would pay your tuition fee directly to your school, right? Now, there are some schools that would send you the PTDF scholar, the invoice to forward it to PTDF. That is the only instance when you should or when you would need to forward your invoice to PTDF, and then PTDF would have to pay directly. But PTDF is not going to give you your tuition fee. They will pay to the school directly. Most schools would typically liaise with PTDF automatically without involving you, right? Some schools will just tell you that your school fees have been paid. Schools will not bother to tell you your school fees have been paid. So please take note of that. If your school sends you an invoice when you get to the UK or other school, just forward it directly to PTDF, right? Will PTDF refund? I think I've talked about that. Kind of conferences I have gotten, does it drop for everyone at the same time? Okay, I guess you're talking about proof of funding letter. It doesn't drop at the same time, right? Different people have different times they get their proof of funding letter. What is the cost of living in Scotland? I think I've talked about this, right? Depending on where you're coming in Scotland, if you're coming to Edinburgh, Glasgow, those are like the main cities in Scotland. I'd encourage you to hold minimum of £500 anyway. When you're coming to Nigeria, is the TB test the only test we have to conduct? If you're talking about medical tests, yes, that is the only test you have to conduct. What about the cost of living in England? Again, all this is based on where exactly you're staying. But I know that London is one of the most expensive cities. Oxford is also very expensive. Cambridge is also very expensive. And other schools other cities are relatively cheap or expensive depending on where you're staying. So if I haven't answered your question, what about the cost of living in England, Liverpool? I have no idea, to be honest. But I know Liverpool would also be, a little bit above average when it comes to cost. All right. If you have any more question, you can drop it in the chat, or you just signify by raising up your hand. Okay. No more question in the chat box. If you have any more question, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any more question? Okay, David Abidoye, please go ahead.
All right, thank you, Akin. So my question is, if you don't get the university accommodation, how will you advise the person to get private accommodation outside university?
So there are 1,000,001 ways to get that, right? And I would encourage you to, if you know any PTDF, any PTDF scholar, staying in your city, you guys can team up, right? That's another option. I remember some of my friends in Edinburgh did exactly the same. Because sometimes, right, number one, the stress of looking for accommodation, that's one. And then number two is that the cost, depending on where exactly you're staying, can be pretty expensive. So let's say, for example, now both of us, we are looking for accommodation. If one person gets it, and let's say it's a 2-bedroom flat, where 2 people can share, 1 bedroom each, we can team up and, pay for it. And it would always be cheaper. I don't know if you understand. So for example, a 1-bedroom apartment can cost like £400. And a 2-bedroom can cost, let's say, £500, right? So even though both of you are staying in, your respective rooms, you guys would now pay £250 each. Do you understand? So if you are going to look for private accommodation, number one, if it is possible, right, for you to team up with another person, it doesn't have to be, he or she doesn't have to be a PTDF scholar. You can team up with the person so that would reduce your cost. And then I know that there are other accommodation websites you can find. I know of Amber Students, that's like the most popular. And you can also check with your schools, right? Send an email to your school. They would let you know what options are available, especially for accommodation closer to your school. Can you talk about guarantors, please? Must it be the exact caliber of people mentioned? For example, can I use an assistant director as an equivalent to the director stated on the bond? I don't think this is really so important, right? I mean, depending on what you have, just make do with what you have, right? You can use an assistant director, I think so. Is it better to pay for private accommodation now? If you're talking about, before you arrive in the UK, it depends on the the accommodation provider, right? Some will tell you to pay an initial deposit. Some will tell you that you don't have to pay an initial deposit. But either ways, even if you pay now, and let's say for whatever reason you're not able to eventually, get into the accommodation, right? I think they will be able to refund your money. So it depends. All right, next question, please. You're welcome. All right, any more questions? You can either drop it in the chat box or raise your hand. Did you sign the bond form before leaving? Yes, you should, please. Right, please sign your bond form before leaving. All right, sign your bond form before leaving. Ikechi, I hope that answers your question. Yes, you have to, please. You have to sign your bond form before leaving. So you're thinking, I'll not sign the bond form. Nobody will just hold me. The UK government would know that you are a fully funded, scholarship students. So whether you sign the bond form or not, right, PTDF would typically always liaise with, the UK government. And of course, when you're applying for your visa, you would submit your award letter and proof of funding letter, so they would know. So what can a person do if he's not able to meet with the September intake? Does he have to redo the process all over again? No. Right? If you're starting in January, for example, just go on with the process. All right, request your proof of funding letter, send it to your school. Of course, that's after you've gotten your January or whichever start date admission. And you can continue the process like that. You don't have to start the whole process again. Which university in the UK do you think a PTDF scholar should go for? I mean, the best in your popular opinion. Again, there's really nothing like popular opinion. It depends on what you're looking for, in a school. Right. But I know that I must say 20 million. But I know that can you please mute yourself if you're not talking? I know that there is one doctor that is also a PTDF, it's part of PTDF as it were, he works with area SWAT. So oftentimes there's a lot of PTDF scholars at area SWAT University, right? That is the only popular in quotes university I know of. But I don't encourage to just go to any school because of popularity, right? Go to whichever school you want to go to. You can look at QS ranking. If you're particular about ranking, you can look at the course. If you're particular about the course outline. So check. It depends on it depends on the factors you're looking out for. That would be the kind of school you should apply to. Right? Who signed the bond form? Or if you're talking about who signed my bond form, I have someone who signed it who is a director. Yeah. Chimere, answers your question. All right. So please go ahead with your question. Can a partner of a firm sign for me? I think so. Right, the person qualifies for a director. A partner of a firm should be able to sign for you. One person can sign the bond form, or is more than one. I can't remember exactly the lines of the bond form, but I know that I think the director should sign, and then a witness should sign for you, right? If I'm correct, anybody can be that witness, actually. Anybody can be that witness, including your younger brother. Witness simply means that, the person actually saw it, when your guarantor is actually signing the form. So anybody can sign as a witness. All right, any more questions? Are we supposed to take the bond form to PTDF for a representative to sign their own part? No. Just sign your own part and upload. Do we have to go to court too? Not necessarily. You don't have to go to court. So I know there are, I don't know, when I was in Lagos, there are all these magistrate courts, and people around them, will just stamp, your guarantor's form. So I don't think you have to go to court. The form says passport of a guarantor. How do you upload that? It's very simple. Just print the form, fill it, include the picture of your guarantor, and then upload it back. What country are you? I'm in the United Kingdom. All right, any more questions? You can drop it in the chat box, or, Okay, no more question. Miracle Ajay. Okay, do you have an idea of the process the German scholars went through? Unfortunately not. I don't. But I would expect that the whole process would be, quite similar. The only difference would just be the TB testing, right? Once you've gotten your admission, I think you should be able to kickstart the whole process. How quickly were you able to settle into the UK? This is a long story, but I think maybe a month. I was able to settle in, minimum of a month. Number one, I had to deal with the code. The code was pretty much, I came in January, and Scotland is particularly very, very cold. Very, very cold. For some of you coming to Scotland, please take note of that. Make sure you bring, very thick clothes. I remember coming out of the airport, and it was very, very cold. It was like they actually dropped me inside freezer. That was the feeling I had. So please, especially if you're not used to the kind of weather, so please take notes. Make sure you bring enough clothing material. How quickly were you able to settle? I think I've answered that. Which course are you studying, and what school are you in? I'm studying Master's in Finance, University of Strathclyde in Scotland, Glasgow. If a person is changing course and there is a difference in the fee, we get tackle that. Yes, tackle that. All right. All you need to do is just make sure you upload the updated course, and then there would be one section that they would tell you to write, the amount of tuition fee you'll be paying. Fill that correctly, and PTDF would handle with that, regardless of how much you are, how much the course fee, is. PTDF would sort that out. So if I sign the form at court, I won't have a passport. So how do I do it? I'm not sure I understand your question. You can clarify, please. Our group members were talking about France transit visa to KLM. How true is that? And do we pay for that for ourselves? I think I've addressed that in the video. Yes. Most of the master's degree students would need a transit visa. And yes, you will be the one to pay for yourself. Right? But you would only be able to apply for your transit visa after you've gotten your UK visa. Right? So that is very, very true. And you'll be the one to pay for it yourself. You can check on the VFS website for the fee. And I don't think it's an elaborate process, compared to, when you're applying for the UK visa. So check with that. Is work planning a requirement for MSc? What do you mean by work planning? will PTDF cover the mileage to last destination or to London, to your last destination, or to the closest airport, to your school? PTDF will cover that. But PTDF will not cover from the airport to where you are going to stay. Whether you're going through bus or going through cab, PTDF won't sort that out. They will pay for everything up until the airport of your destination or the closest airport to your destination. I hope that answers that question, Fatima. Can I get University of Strathclyde PTDF agent contact from you? I don't think there's any PTDF agent contact, from University of Strathclyde. I think it's just for University of Nottingham and maybe Eratswat University. If there is any, I don't know of any. How do you advise we pack more? What do you advise we pack more? Foodstuff or clothes? Foodstuff, please. Pack more foodstuff, right? You will buy a lot of cheap clothes here. About APTAS, our own is still not ready. So what can someone do? You would have to wait, actually. I don't know if there is any other process or if there's any other, action to take to expedite, getting your APTAS. So just wait. Hopefully they're able to get back to you as soon as possible. So yeah, I've answered all the questions, in the chat. If you have any more questions, you can drop it in the chat. Hopefully we're able to wrap up with this Q&A session by 7 o'clock. Can I change from France to Germany, or your course of study freely without PTDF's approval between France and Germany? One has more opportunities, or will you advise? I'm not sure I got your question. If you're talking about changing your country of study, right? I can't remember. I remember during our time, or maybe during our time, actually, what they said was that there is a particular, areas you can change from. I can't remember what country exactly, right? I'm not sure I can answer that question. You can send an email to whether it's a master's degree or PhD. If you're a master's degree student, just send a mail to PTDF to confirm whether you can switch. In terms of opportunities, I can't say exactly. It depends on what course you're studying. The bond form can be signed by magistrate. If I use that option, I don't think that the magistrate will give me any passport photographs. So how will I handle that? No, I'm not sure the magistrate is supposed to sign. They would actually put a stamp. Right, during my time, they actually put a stamp. It wasn't like they signed, right? They would just put a stamp to say that, they verify that the information is correct and all of that. So you don't need the passport photograph of the magistrate, right? You only need the passport photograph of the person who is serving as your guarantor. Concerning cash, do you open a pounds account here in Nigeria, or you took cash with you there? I took cash with me, actually, right? I took cash with me. And I don't know if some of you have heard of Monzo. There are some accounts that you can open, every now and then. Please make sure you use the normal or typical banks like HSBC, like Lloyds Bank and all of that. Monzo, it took a while. People that submitted Monzo account to PTDF, it took a while, for them to credit them, all right, to pay their stipends, right? So please make sure you can hold enough money. Once you get to the UK, you will be able to open a bank account in a week or thereabouts. So how did you convert your cash? I applied for, you call this thing now. I applied for personal travel allowance, right? So that's another thing. For master's degree students, you'll be able to apply for your PTA once your UK visa is out, and then PTDF has paid for your flight tickets. Just take both documents, take it to your bank, and then whichever amount you want to convert to pounds, they would give you, right? But I think for some banks, they will tell you that if you don't have a return ticket, that they're not going to give you PTA. So it depends on banks, actually. But for master's degree student, PTDF is going to actually book a return flight ticket for you. For PhD, one-way ticket. Those going to France with study up to 24 months, are we going to be put on Air France? Because I think Air France agreement is only for 12 months. So yeah, I would assume that it's typically Air France you would board. So it doesn't mean whether it's for apologies for the noise. Whether it's for 12 months, once you've gotten to the end of your study, PTDF will be able to book another flight ticket for you. I don't think that should be an issue. When person get the PTDF money, can person save and come back with it? I'm not sure I understand your question. Abib, can you deposit your cash into your UK bank account once you have opened it? Yes, you can. You can actually. Pounds is pounds everywhere. So what do you advise? Should I defer the scholarship considering my school enrollment deadline being October? Not necessarily. You can give it a shot. If you want to actually resume in September, then give it a shot. I mean, some people have actually gotten their proof of funding letter. So if you've not already applied, apply. Once you've gotten your proof of funding, send it to your school. Once your school has given you your CAS, upload it. So be fast about it if you actually want to resume, very soon. Our question, Samsung SM, I'm not sure I'm able to, go outside of this Zoom. So please, maybe you can just send a screenshot or something. How did it take before you got your accommodation as Strathclyde? My accommodation came out maybe a week. Actually, what bank do you recommend? I'm not an agent of any bank. Do whichever one that suits you. But the only thing is just that make sure you don't just apply to, Monzo. I'm not discrediting Monzo. You can open Monzo accounts, but it shouldn't be because of PTDF because it will take a while before the money can enter your account. Or PTDF might actually come back to you to say that you should change your bank. Just choose any, typical bank, HSBC, Barclays, all those banks. You can pick any of them. During the induction, one of the facilitators mentioned not working more than specific hours per day or per week. Yes, if it's in the UK, it is 20 hours per week. 20 hours per week if you're in the UK. I don't know about other countries, but it is 20 hours per week. How many hours do I work? I don't work actually. Some of us are seeing Zuma, I don't work. But yeah, it is 20 hours per week. Again, I want to encourage you. Once you guys get to the UK, don't go beyond the required number of hours. I am actually begging you because it will later on to when you guys want to, let's say PTDF has given you the chance to stay back in the UK and you want to apply for post-study visa. All of those things are what they would actually check, whether you've complied with the rules and regulation. If you've not complied with it, it's possible they reject your visa and then you come back to Nigeria. So please stay within the required. Please stay within the required, number of hours. You will be able to work fully during the holidays. All right. But during the session, you can only work for 20 hours per week. I hope that answers your question, Godwin. Please, how do I go about securing visa for my family? I would encourage you to go through PTDF agents, right? Go through PTDF agents so that they can, merge the documents together and then you guys can do it straight up. Still on France, what banks do you suggest us to open? I'm not in France, I'm in the UK. Just open a bank account from, the normal typical banks, right? The normal typical banks, HSBC, Barclays, Lloyds, Santander. You can open anyone. Just don't just open Monzo account. You can open Monzo account for your order. Maybe you want to save and all of that. You can do that. But don't just open Monzo account and say you want to send it to PTDF. It's going to take a long while if at all the money enter your account. I mean, from the stipend PTDF gives, can person save money and come back? Yeah, it's your choice. Whatever you do with your money is your choice. Right, Abib? I don't think PTDF will dictate to you how to spend your money. Whatever you do with the money, it's your choice. 20 hours per week during session. What of when you're not in session? Fully. You can work fully, 40 hours, more than 40 hours. Depending on where you're working. To come back when you graduate, typically, yes, you must come back when you graduate, right? Now, there are other options people consider, and that's you applying to PTDF to give you a letter saying that you can stay back in your country, right? But if you don't get that letter, you have to come back to Nigeria. But the thing about PTDF is that they're not telling you that you have to wait 2 years before you come back to the UK, right? I know Chevlin, for example, will tell you once you come back, once you're done with your program and you come back to Nigeria, you cannot come back to the UK for another 2 years. I mean, you can come back for maybe tourism and all of that, but you cannot come back for a permanent stay in the UK, right? But PTDF is a bit flexible. So I haven't gone through the whole process of, getting that letter yet. I know of some of my friends who are, graduating from school this September. Once I confirm what the process is, maybe I can just put it on my YouTube channel or something, or maybe organize a meeting where I can talk about it. But yeah, I don't know what the process is, but it is possible. That is the only option you have to actually stay back in your country. If PTDF does not give you that letter, you cannot stay back. You'd have to come back. So I hope that answers your question, Samson. Is there a temporary accommodation that the person can stay before getting a school accommodation? So it depends on the city you are staying and if you know someone that can accommodate you, right? But if not, the closest option would be to, get a hotel or get Airbnb. That would be the closest option. But if you know someone, if they can accommodate you, sure, why not? What's the rent rate? I mean, the range for a 3-bedroom. It depends on the city you're coming to. What city are you talking about? What is the name of the letter for staying back? I can't remember exactly. I think it's called a letter of no objection. Right? A letter of no objection, I believe, but I'm not sure. All right, any more questions? Please, the school I applied to prepared an attestation letter pending when the international office resume next 2 weeks, where they can prepare an admissible letter. Please, can I present this to get my POF? You don't need to present a letter to get your POF, I believe. Also, for the bond form, who do you recommend to sign for us? And when is the deadline for uploading? There is no deadline for uploading, the bond form. All right. Except if that has changed. There's no deadline, but I would encourage you to upload it before you leave Nigeria, or even now you can upload it. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to upload it, except if you can't get someone to sign the bond form for you. So the attestation letter, I don't know if that will be admissible for your award letter. You should be able to get your proof of funding letter regardless, but I don't know if that will be admissible for award letter, right? But just wait. That's what I would suggest. Is there room for online or hybrid studies? So when I started in January, it was hybrid. The classes were purely online, and we had what is called workshops. That's the tutorial, that were physical classes, but the workshops were purely online. The exam was online, and the only thing you just need to be very careful about is plagiarism level, because since it's online, you can just copy from anywhere and then just submit. You have to be careful for plagiarism. If I get an offer of PhD in another country, can I just fly to the country and start, or I need to inform PTDF? I'm not sure I understand that question. Bristol, I think Bristol should be very cheap, Miriam. Right, 3-bedroom shouldn't be maybe 600 or thereabouts. Please, Ayuba, can you further explain? I'm not sure your question is clear. What is expected of those awardees that are yet to get admission to a school? Are they expected to fill any form, especially the acceptance letter? You will still have to fill it. What is expected of you is to actually get an admission to any school, any PTDF approved school. Make sure you get an admission, then you can continue the process. Is the study plan to be submitted by both MSc or PhD awardees? And how is it submitted on the portal? I would assume it's the PhD because it's not, I didn't get any notification to submit a study plan or whatever. Probably that's for PhD awardees. How soon will the agent reach out? It depends on PTDF actually, right? And for the most part, a lot of us actually disturbed, those agents. We kept on asking them, as PTDF paid? They said PTDF hasn't paid, PTDF has not released money, blah, 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 and all of that. So it depends on when PTDF would actually pay. And again, let me just add that your visa application, they are going to call you guys in batches, right? Depending on your course start date and, when you applied for your visa, right? So for some of you that are that want to, start your course in maybe September or October, once you've gotten your award letter, you've gotten your TB test, the following day, if it's possible, go and do your TB test, register for your visa application and all that, so that you can be among the first set of people they are going to call for biometrics. How do we treat the application fees required by universities? You pay it yourself. Another option would be that you can send your proof of funding letter to your school to waive the admission fee or the application fee. Some schools would leave it for you. Some schools would not, right? But I think you should be able to, send the school your POF, your proof of funding, or even that email saying that you've gotten the scholarship. You should be able to send it to them. Can we change to any school at all in our awarded country approved by PTDF? Yes, you can change to any approved school. Can we switch to any course related to our discipline? You can switch to any course. Absolutely, you can switch to any course. What plans are on ground to cushion the effect of current high inflation globally? I'm not a PTDF official, right? I don't know if you guys have, David, you said you've gotten your proof of funding letter, right? Hello, David.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah.
How much was on the POF?
So that was 13,800 for the 1 year period. So that's about 1,150.
Okay, so I think that answers your question. It's still the same thing, the same amount they paid us. So you can write to PTDF, if they can help you cushion the effect of inflation. Will PTDF fund domiciliary accounts? This is to enable scholars who are not buoyant enough to take care of bills like accommodation immediately they arrive. No, PTDF would not. Right? It is your responsibility to open domiciliary accounts. You send it to PTDF, on the portal, then they will pay you. Right? That's why I'm emphasizing that you guys should take enough money, right, to your respective country of destination. For those that intend to change to another school, are they to go ahead to accept the scholarship and update profile? Yes, please. You can change. You can change the choice of school, provided it's within your country of it's within the country you selected during your application. I mean, before the end of my program, if I get a PhD offer I applied for, say maybe in the US, should I just go to the country and start my PhD, or I should inform PTDF of my? You can inform PTDF, but I don't think that would change anything. You can go to the US for your PhD. I don't think that should be an issue. I would just say you should inform PTDF, for courtesy, someone that's wanting you for master's degree. You can just inform them, but you can be rest assured that they are not going to object to you, going for your PhD. Do MSc students have to do the IOM medicals? Yes, you would have to do your IOM medicals. But it's just TB tests, right? It's just your TB testing. That's the only medical you would have to do. What should somebody who has not gotten admission but has accepted the scholarship do? Start looking for admission. Right? Start looking for admission. In the issue of work plan that should be submitted within 7 days of acceptance of the scholarship. Yeah, just submit your work plan. Right? And even if you have an idea of the school you want to go to, just include that. If not, you can change to another school, depending on, you can change to another school, whether it's in your work plan or not. You should be able to change. Can we change country? No, you cannot. For MSc, do we require an airport transit visa? Yes. Or is our flight going to be booked by British Airways? No. Typically, you will be booked, on either a KLM or an Air France. If you're a PhD, you'll be booked on Turkish Airlines. It is only if you are booked on Turkish Airlines that you would not need a transit visa, right? Or let's say you're lucky enough to get a British Airways flight, then you would not need a transit visa. Can we use our work counselor as guarantors? If that's what you have, yes, please. How does PTDF that partnership work? Unfortunately, I cannot answer that question. Is there any deadline for gaining admission and study startup? No. Any deadline for the medicals? No. Will the scholarship award cover a 4 years PhD? The handbook stipulates 36 months. So it will be 36 months typically, then you'll be able to request an extension. All right. Is it better to apply for visa for my family at the early stage or wait until I get there first and apply for them? It depends on you. Once they've applied for your own visa, your visa number would be, with that visa number, you'll be able to apply, for your family. So it now depends on whether you want them to, live with you, or maybe when you get there, then, they can come over. How much pounds did you take with you when you traveled? Just to give myself an estimate of how much one would need, depending on, I took about 1,500 pounds, but that's not a rule. Anything 500 pounds above, I think that should be enough for you. I mean, provided you don't pay rent. Let me add that, because once you pay rent, you will not have up to 200 pounds, left. But I took about 1,500 pounds. Please, how much money is enough, pending when the first tranche of payments will come through from PTDF? I think I've answered that. Minimum of 500 pounds. If you're staying in a school accommodation, you can, do 500 pounds. If you're staying in a private accommodation, I'd encourage 1,000 pounds above. Can we replace the first choice of school with schools that have provided admission? Yes, you can. With PTDF refund awardees who have made payments for any of the following: tuition fee deposit, yes. TB test, no. Visa, yes. Flight ticket, yes. Most German scholars apply for that scholarship? I don't know, actually. All right, thank you, Ayuba. All right, any other question? You can ask your question now, because please, if I defer the scholarship now, what's the process of reactivating the scholarship? There's no process, right? They would let you know once your deferral request has been approved. Once it has been approved, you can start the whole process again. The only update is just that your proof of funding letter and your award letter will now carry, August 2023 to August 2024, as against August 2022 to August 2023. That's the only update you would need. How much is one bedroom in Germany? Unfortunately, I don't know. But I heard Germany is one of the most expensive, European countries. You might need to. Are you staying in the school accommodation or a private one? I'm staying in school accommodation. Will PTDF give scholarship if you apply to a school not approved by OS? No. You would not even be able to request your proof of funding letter or your award letter, because there's a drop-down menu already. So, no, they wouldn't be able to give the scholarship. All right. Any more questions? What's your current country of study? I'm saying in the United Kingdom. Please read. Yes, the recording will be provided. I would upload the recording as soon as this meeting is over on my YouTube channel. What's your experience so far in the accommodation? So where do I start from? My experience has been mixed, actually. So with respect to the school holding on for me to for PTDF to pay before I then pay them, I mean, there is no issue with that, right? They actually waited, up until PTDF paid before I then paid my accommodation. But then with respect to the people I stayed with have not been like a very good experience. I've had to move, 3 times. I've had to move 3 times, between January and now. And that was because, the first time I lodged a complaint that, the guys there were smoking and all of this stuff. And, they had to change my accommodation twice. So apart from that, I think if you're talking about the whole accommodation setting, I think it makes sense. I'm speaking for Strathclyde now. I'm not speaking for all schools, right? It makes sense, but then it depends on your flatmates. So please pray to have good flatmates, right? So that they can make your life easier. Do you have an idea how much France stipends is? That would be the equivalent of 13,800 pounds, for masters, and then 18,600 pounds for PhD students. How can I speak with you after this session? Please send me an email at akin.motesho@gmail.com. Just send me an email. We can take it up from there. But like I mentioned in my video, I'm preparing for my exams. My exam is on Tuesday. So please give me some time. If I don't respond very quickly, just give me some time, right? I'm preparing for my exams, and I'm preparing for my exams. I would respond as soon as I can. So after getting my visa, how long does it take to book a flight? So it depends. Once you've gotten your UK visa, you will not be able to book your flight tickets immediately. And that's because you will need an airport transit visa. Once you have those two visas, you can book your flights that same day or even the following day. Can I just have my visa and say travel after a month of receiving the visa? Yes, provided your visa hasn't expired. You can actually. Thank you so much. Thank you. So you can, because your entry sticker would have 3 months, especially for UK folks. Your entry visa will be 3 months. So what that means is that before the expiration of your entry visa, you must have been in the United Kingdom or in your country of study. All right, thank you very much. Please, can you kindly join our WhatsApp group for further questions? No, I would not. I'm sorry. I would not. It's for you guys. I wouldn't, but you can always reach out to me, on the different platforms. You can reach out to me on social media as well, right? I would respond at my earliest convenience. What is the range of accommodation fee in the UK? It depends on which city you're staying, right? Is it advisable? Must our passport expiration be up to 20 months before application? So if you're talking about the expiration of your passport, before you apply for another one, I think you can apply for a new passport, maximum of 6 months before your current one expires. You should be able to apply for, another passport. Kind request, please, can you invite a fellow scholar in Germany to give us hints on Germany? I'll try and consider that, but most of them are, pretty much busy at the moment. But I would consider that actually, so that, we can talk about other countries that I cannot cover. So I'll try to reach out to them and then, update it on my community page. So I'll let you guys know or maybe speak with some of you that I have personal relationship with. Do you know if France scholars will require an airport transit visa since they are using Air France? No, you would not require airport transit visa. And that's because you would already have a visa that allows you to stay in France. So you don't need airport transit visa. I have date of birth disparity, my secondary school certificate and undergraduate certificate. Will this affect me in getting a visa? I would advise you to speak with, the PTDF agents. They'll be the ones to answer that question, actually. I'm not sure I can answer that question. But it might be a big issue, actually. So, but ask them anyway. Can we just buy a ticket that doesn't require a transit visa and then get a refund by PTDF? I think you should be able to. What's the refund process? Just send an email to, whether it's master's or PhD students, send an email to the PTDF. They would respond to you. Thank you very much, Mina. Please, we need more light on Germany, please. I'll try and, work on that. Drop your YouTube page name, Akiomotesho. So for the Germany folks, I'm not promising, but I'll try and, see if I can get, any of the scholars to talk to you guys. So please check my YouTube, especially the community page. I make a lot of uploads, So, yep. How strict with PTDFB on scholars return after studies? So when you talk about what you do after you've returned to Nigeria, they are not strict, but you're supposed to come back to Nigeria. I hope that answers your question. Whatever you do afterwards, if you want to go to the US and you want to go to Canada afterwards, that's your personal business. I hope that answers your question, Aliyu. All right, any more questions? Your other social media handles, just type Akiomotesho. You should be able to see my picture there. Are they really strict on nursing mothers? I don't know. I know the closest they said was that if you are pregnant, you cannot undertake the scholarship, right? If you're pregnant, you cannot undertake the scholarship. that it is until you've given birth, then you can undertake the scholarship. So I would assume that they are not strict on nursing mothers, actually. In the event that an awardee's surname has changed due to marriage, and she has done a passport with a new surname, different from what she used for PTDF, what you just need to do is to include your marriage certificate when you're applying for your visa. What surname is she advised to use while registering for English test and applying for admission? Anyone you decide to, provided you have your marriage certificate that would show the reason for the disparity, you would not have an issue. How can one defer the scholarship? Just go to your PTDF scholarship website. You'll be able to defer the scholarship, actually. For someone who does not have an offer of admission, when is the right time to complete and submit the bond form? Anytime. Anytime, actually. All right. I hope that answers your question. Let's see if we can, close this meeting before 9:30. Can you stay back after studies and look for a job? I know Germany, France give post-study visa after studies. Yes, you can, provided PTDF gives you a letter of no objection or a letter stating that, you can stay back in your country of study. Yes, you can, actually. What if they do not give you, and you come back to Nigeria, and you come back to Nigeria, and if you stay back in your country of, if you stay back in your country and say because PTDF does not give you or did not give you the letter, you're actually flouting the rules, and they might actually end up deporting you. There's actually stricter, regulations for people who are fully funded or who are fully funded. Yes, there are stricter regulations, and that's because they know that most times, you're supposed to come back to your country, except if your sponsor gives you a letter saying that you can stay back. That is the only reason why you can stay back, right? So if they don't give you, you have to come back to Nigeria. So, but the thing is, from what I've noticed so far is that it is easier to go to any other country. Actually, if you want to plan a PhD, for example, or you even want to get a job, right? It's easier than, from Nigeria. So I would encourage you, have plan B, have plan C, have plan D, even up to plan Z, so that you can, if you don't want to come back to Nigeria, if you want to travel to other countries, you should have plans. The guarantor qualifications are too strict. Are they flexible? Can we use guarantors of regular people? Just use people of, high caliber, actually. All right. Concerning the bond guarantor form, the VC rector, provost, or register be from public or private educational institution. I don't know. I think you should be able to pick anyone, actually. Any one of them should suffice. Please, can you say again how to get euros from the bank? And how long does it take for me to get the exchange? It depends on the bank, actually. So for me, I got my pounds the same day I was traveling outside of Nigeria. All right. I got my pounds. I applied, I think, about 5 days, before I traveled. So I got my pounds the same day I traveled outside of Nigeria. In fact, I had to go to Victoria Island first, then come back to the mainland, then go to the airport. So it depends. I currently have a job in Nigeria. It takes a few months for the scholarship award tenable outside the listed countries. I'm not sure I understand your question, Camille. On what ground would they give a letter of objection? Maybe you're staying back for your PhD, you've gotten a job in your country of study. Those are grounds that they can give you a letter of no objection. What if you happen to get the job after studies and PTDF did not give you the clearance to stay back and work? Can you come back first and go back? I think you should be able to, actually. All right, you should be able to. You should be able to. No, it's not. The scholarship is not tenable outside of the listed countries. Okay, any more questions? I got another MSc scholarship. I want to cancel the PTDF MSc Overseas Scholarship. Would I be allowed to apply for the PhD scholarship in the future? Yes, you will. Yes, you will. That would not affect your chance of applying for a PhD later. Any more questions? I want to stick to the particular course and school UK I chose during the PTDF application. Unfortunately, the application window for 2022 is closed, and the one for 2023 session will open in October. Is this sufficient reason for deferment for 1 year? Yes, it is. It is. All right. Any more questions? Please, how much is the stipend or the stipends? I think I've talked about that in my video, in my previous video. For master's degree students, it's £13,800. And for PhD, it is £18,600 plus an extra £2,000 bench fees. Can we apply for PTDF PhD just before our MS is concluded? Sure, why not? All right. Any more questions? We have less than 6 minutes. For a female scholar who is just a few months pregnant but doesn't want to defer because of her career goals and is ready to handle the rigors of, is it mandatory for her to defer? Yes, it is. And that's because either way, they are actually going to know if you are pregnant. If you're applying for TB test, right, one of the things they will tell you is that, if you're pregnant, I think they have another procedure for pregnant people. And so your certificate is actually going to show that you're pregnant, right? So you might have to defer. All right, my CAS and ATAS are not yet issued, but I have an unconditional offer. Can I still make it for this year? Yes, it depends on when they are actually, it depends on when they are actually out. That will determine if you can make it or not. If one wants to travel with a partner and child, is it possible to have all persons on the same flight? I don't know how feasible that is, but then you can liaise with the PTDF agents to say that you want to be on the same flight, actually, right? Try and liaise with, the PTDF. Try and liaise with the protocol unit, sorry. It is the protocol unit of PTDF that would actually book your flight tickets, right? So for that kind of situation, if you're in Abuja, you can go to their office to tell them. But you would have to pay for, your partner and your child's, flight tickets. But it's just that they can book you on the same flight. How is it to get admission in Germany for someone with tutu? Unfortunately, I cannot answer that question. The window for deferment is now to June as ahead. If I defer now, can you rephrase that question? Will those who defer their studies till next year not have a problem if the federal government decides not to fund PTDF scholarship for next year because of economic challenges? No, I'm not sure that would happen. It will not happen, actually. Right? Is the scholarship payment for deferred scholars already guaranteed? Yes, it is, provided you take up the scholarship, right? You go to your country of study and all of that. Yes, it is guaranteed. Do you have any idea about accommodation in the UK? It depends on which part of the UK, actually. After visa interview, how long does it take to get a reply from IOM? Now, don't confuse it, though. IOM is supposed to be your TB test. It's supposed to be for your TB test, right? And you will get that certificate that same day. After your visa interview, your visa will typically come out about 3 weeks. 3 weeks max, I know some people, it took longer, but 3 weeks max, your visa should be out. But for your TB test certificate, it's going to be out that same day, provided you go there very early. How do you confirm if you have accepted the PTDF offer letter? There's an acceptance and consent form, on the PTDF portal. They would know actually. All right. Any more question? I heard people talking about ATV. Are we responsible for it? Yes, please. You're responsible for your airport transit visa. PTDF is not going to pay for that, right? It's your responsibility. Once you've gotten your UK visa, right, just go on VFS website, the Nigerian branch. You should be able to get an appointment the following day if you're in a hurry to travel outside, Nigeria. Please, we need Germany scholar to answer some of our questions, please. I'll try as much as possible to see if I can get, one of my friends to answer Germany questions. But again, I'm not promising. It depends on their, schedules. What courses do you think are very relevant and marketable in Europe? I think this is outside of the scope of PTDF. I don't think there's any course that is not marketable. I think you should be more concerned about you being marketable. Regardless of the course you're studying, it is you that would determine whether your course is relevant or marketable or not. So beyond the course, make sure you develop yourself. Actually, some people take, professional courses, some people take on internships and all of that. Just make sure you position yourself well, so that you are marketable. Forget about the course that's marketable or not. You will see people here who are doing sport education who are actually earning, so much, right? So it's not about the course. Just be particular about you being marketable. V for what? For the ATV, Airport Transit Visa. ATV stands for Airport Transit Visa. Like, how much would the ATV cost, please? During my own time, I'm not sure it cost up to 60,000 naira. It wasn't up to 60,000 naira. I think it was about 57,000 or something. What do you advise us to carry in terms of clothing? Carry thick clothes. All right, you can bring one winter jacket. If you can bring more, that's fine. But I encourage you, maybe one or two is fine. You can get, very nice winter jacket, in your country of study. Bring your hand gloves, bring your head warmer, and then make sure you buy boots. Not Dunlop and not the normal slippers. Make sure you bring your normal Chelsea boots so that you are very warm. We should visit somewhere for the ATV. VFS Global. VFS Global. Just like VFS Global. They are the ones responsible for processing the airport transit visa. VFS Global. What's your advice on food and groceries? Bring as much as you can. But what I said earlier was the fact that I think for the UK, they have limits as to the type of, dairy products you can bring, fish, meat, and all of that. So check with the UK government. Check the UK government's website to be sure that, you are not bringing above. Because if you bring above, they would actually confiscate it, right? And you wouldn't be able to bring it into the UK. They'll take it away from you, right? During my own time, when they measured mine, it wasn't up to, the limits. So please check the UK government's website. Like, how much should we have at hand, including miscellaneous, for the whole process before the arrival of our stipends? I think I've answered that before. I would suggest a minimum of £500, right? But if you can bring more than that, it will be very helpful. Sometimes people don't get paid even up until 3 months after they've gotten to their country of destination. So please factor that in actually. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Liudin. Should we carry that money in cash? Yes, provided you're not bringing up to £10,000 in cash, right? The UK government would actually tell you to declare any money above £10,000. So if it's not up to that, you can carry cash. Just be very careful, especially when you're in Nigeria, so that people don't extort you and all of that. Make sure you keep it somewhere safe, right? And you should be fine. Can you organize another session like this another time? Unfortunately, no. This is the only opportunity I have to meet with you guys. But if you have any question, actually, you can always reach out to me on, any of my social media. You can reach out to me via email. I might not respond immediately because I'm having exams, but I would respond, Yeah. Will £500 be enough for me for up to 3 months? Number one, it depends on the city. And of course, if you're not paying accommodation, if you're paying accommodation, £500 would not be enough actually. So please factor that in. That's one of the, benefits of staying in school accommodation. If you stay in school accommodation, you don't have to pay, your accommodation immediately. Just send them your proof of funding letter or your award letter, and they would allow you to stay, right? Why you can use the £500 for, feeding and all. But if you're going for private accommodation, right, £500 will not be enough. Which one will you recommend in the UK? I think I've talked about that. It depends on, if you have the money, actually, you don't need to depend on PTDF. And you want to go for private accommodation, fine. But if you know that PTDF is like your primary source of funding, if it's possible, stay within the school accommodation. Which city are you in the UK? I'm in Glasgow. United Kingdom, Scotland. All right, any more questions? Any more question? Oh, you're also coming to Glasgow. Interesting. Hopefully we get to see when you're around. All right, any other question? Sorry, I arrived late. What's the ATV about? Is the airport transit visa. All right, I'm going to upload this video on my YouTube so you can go over, some of the things we've discussed. There are no more accommodation available on campus. Yes, actually. So there's an unusual surge with respect to, accommodation. I know for University of Glasgow, for example, right, actually told, the what you would call stay-lights in Nigeria, that's the people who have been in school, that they should look for accommodation elsewhere. And even for those who are resuming, newly, some of them don't actually have accommodation. So accommodation is a major factor. Make sure you sort that out, before you leave Nigeria so that you're not stranded. When are you rounding up your program? December. Why do we need the ATV? I think I've addressed that in the earlier questions, right? So just try and watch it. Any other question? I think this is where we call it, what do you advise to do pertaining the accommodation? Someone gave me a link to accommodation off camp. Then check it out, actually. But if it's a private accommodation, you would have to pay. Excuse me, they really don't care whether, you're a PTDF scholar or not. You just have to pay. So just make sure you have enough money. All right. If you have any more questions, we can't take all the questions here. Please do well to reach out to me, either via email or, via my social media handles. I will try and, the least you've seen is £400 per month. Is it okay? Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. So yeah, that's as much questions as I can take today. I'd like to say a very big thank you to every one of you who joined. Thank you so much for joining. I hope I addressed, most of your questions, right? I'm going to upload the video on YouTube. Thank you so much, guys. And, I wish you all the best. You can always reach out to me. For some of you coming to Scotland and Glasgow, we can always link up, and all that. And whichever help you need, I would render them as much as I can. Thank you so much for joining today. Have a blessed night. Bye, everyone.